Hello, Danvers. This is Mark Zubarek from Topics of the Town News, and we are doing a special presentation today in regards to the current political climate in regard to the elections of our state representative and our federal representative. The Danvers Republican Town Committee hosted a meeting on August 19th, 2020, at the wonderful grounds of the Danvers Public Library and at the Rotary Pavilion. The pavilion is well situated, and the time of the day was perfect. The meeting was hosted by Jim Morose, who is the Danvers Republican Town Committee member. The turnout was small but active. There was a very good conversation, and as you'll see in the presentation of the interviews that I conducted, it was very, very well versed and attended. The two candidates that appeared at this meeting were Bob May, who is a Republican candidate for the 13th district in the state of Massachusetts, which covers Danvers, West Peabody, and parts of Middleton. The other candidate was John Paul Moran, and you will get to know him during the interview because he is a very outspoken individual, and he is running for the 6th district for the state of Massachusetts for the federal representative post. This is a post that Mr. Moulton is currently holding. During the presentation, I think you'll see some very personal discussion in regards to what's going on in our community and what our candidates are going to do for us in the future when we go and vote. And we are going to vote for these candidates on November 3rd. So they do not have a primary right now, but I think we should all attend for the current primary election, September 1. Which is currently we're having early voting at Town Hall. And I would encourage anyone that's interested and is urged to go and vote safely if that's what you prefer. And you can do that at Town Hall now. I think they have various hours during the whole week. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, I think they'll go through this Sunday of August. And I hope you appreciate the comments from these individuals, because that's the only way we will be able to find out what they stand for and where they're going to lead us down the road. So reach out and touch some candidates, because they are important to our existence in this state, and they will represent us very well. So thank you very much, and continue watching. Good evening. This is Mark Zubarek from Topics of the Town News, and we're here today with
Bradley
and Virginia.
And we are here at the library grounds in front of the Rotary Pavilion. And what I'd like to ask is, you being from outside of Danvers, what are your thoughts about the political process that's happening right now? Maybe not locally, but nationally.
Well, I was never big politically until probably the past, I'd say, honestly, past 4 years, I really taken notice. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, from Pittsburgh. I've always been a Democrat. In 5 years ago, I went independent as a voter.
Independent or unenrolled?
Unenrolled.
There you go. We're all unenrolled.
Unenrolled. I like to have people guessing, but I am for the Republican Party. The scene in the United States against Donald Trump, is atrocious. I've seen the way the other party has attacked left and right over every inch that he's done politically. I have not seen a president, former president, do more for this country than Donald Trump.
He's not a former president. He is the
I
president.
meant for former presidents other than him.
Any past president.
Yes, any past
Right.
We'll do it that
He
way.
has done more for this country through bills,
Yes.
immigration, for minorities, than any
Working
other
class.
working class than anybody I know. I'm not, like I said, I've been following politics truthfully for the last 6-7 years now for but I've always been, I guess, as in a, I don't know how to continue, but maybe you can add something.
Well, I think that our country is a beautiful place. It's made up of so many different people. My husband and I have driven across the United States with our son and our dog. Twice now, we've seen everything but 4 states in the United States. Every state we've arrived in and stayed in, people are awesome. You would think, you have this idea, okay, I'm going to go down south. How are the people going to be? They're just nice. We've been out west. Our daughter and son-in-law live in the west, out in Colorado. And I believe in this country. My mom is a first generation. My dad is second generation. I think most of us are. Most of us aren't here forever. But the hate that comes destroys me. My heart breaks for the hate. I've been voting since I was 18. I'm almost 60.
Same here.
I have found that never and ever was it ever this way where you either have your friends disown you if you like one party or the other, or your relatives disown you if you like one party or the other. I want it back to normal. If there's going to ever be a normalcy, I think this is going to make or break the United States of America, and I think it's going to affect the whole world either way, because I think people follow us, people see what we do, and that's it.
To follow up your previous comment in regard to breakdown of the family and the unity and the patriotism that's happening, how on earth did the governments of this world and all of the countries followed in the same step to shut down the government, shut down the businesses, shut down our private life because they're interfering in our private life, and now they are closing all kinds of businesses. They won't let them open, and they make up these rules as they go along. So from your perspective, what do you think?
My perspective is this was planned long ago. This specific time was coming. I know people who say conspiracy theorists. You can think whatever you want. If you do your research, everybody has a smartphone. All you have to do is your research. I started a few years back, maybe 8 years back. Somebody made a comment on something that was called the Calgary Plan. I looked it up, and then I went from there. And then that was written in another language, so I went into an English version and I started reading it. And then I read about Agenda 21 and Agenda 30, and then I read about what people were involved, and the same people that were involved in those meetings back then are the same people or their family members who are now running everything. Anybody who thinks that this wasn't in the making is totally illiterate, because all you have to do is, they call you you're ridiculous. Look it up. I didn't make it up. There's nothing on my name saying this happened. All you have to do is look it up. Nobody wants to look it up. They just go, you're crazy. But if you follow the money and you follow the patterns and you follow the people, and look at social media, 6 major people own all the media corporations in the world. In the world, not just the USA, but the world. They tell them what to say right down the line. All you have to do is follow them. You'll figure it out. They tell them exactly what to say. And then we don't know. We got this coming at us and this. I don't watch television. I refuse to watch television. I think it's a joke. I don't go to the movies anymore. I don't listen to celebrities because they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, nor do I listen to athletes because they have no idea what they're talking about. I go and I listen to people that research everything. I listen to scientists, I listen to doctors, I listen to media people. I go in and I just read. And once you do that, you'll figure it out. Everything's a scam. And this government, President Trump doesn't have the right to shut everything down. The states, you abide by the states. If anybody reads their constitution, which I have one, my son has one, we carry it around, they have the rights. If you go to South Dakota, they're open. They're flourishing. Their people aren't sick. Massachusetts, Maine, New England, it's like they get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. I can't visit my daughter in Colorado unless I want to go and take a test, and I'm not going to listen to them. So yes, this is how I feel it happened.
As a result of our conversation just now, what do you believe is the ulterior motive of our governments, whether it's the United States or the rest of the world? Why are we doing this?
My personal feeling is that they are doing this. You shut down your police force. You defund them. You shut down all the people. You shut down your schools. You shut down your churches. You shut down your civic organizations. Nobody can get and talk to each other unless they talk online. You bring so much hatred and so much confusion. Your kids are confused. Our son is not going to college. He deferred because he doesn't want to go to a college where he's learning online. He wants to be part of it. They took that away from the kids. I think they want to reset everything. They want to reset how we deal with money. They want to reset everything to the point where we will be in total control by the government. Not necessarily the government, it's going to be like a major government, and they are going to control everything, and we are just going to be little peons who do what they say, or we don't get our money, we don't get our houses, we don't get food. That's my
world government.
World government.
New world
government.
Well, whatever new means.
Yeah, whatever they say.
All right.
That's my idea.
Thank you very much
You're
for your
welcome.
thoughts, and we in Danvers appreciate your comments, because we are basically destroying our family relationships.
Yes.
We're destroying our political relationships. We can't even go inside the town hall
Exactly.
because they have become a little dictatorship.
Correct.
Exactly.
So I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
West Peabody in '92, where we've been for almost 30 years now. We have 4 kids. My oldest daughter, Sarah, is 26. She works in social media marketing. She's in Sweden right now. My younger daughter, Sydney, is a mechanical engineer, and she works for Pratt & Whitney down in Connecticut. And my oldest twin boys, Stephen and Spencer, like I said, they're going to be seniors in college. One goes to school in Florida, the other one goes to school in Stony Brook in Long Island. I also have an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Lowell. Now it's part of the UMass system. I got an MBA with a concentration in finance from Northeastern University. From there, I went into business consulting, which I did for a couple of years. One of the projects we had, one of the projects that we had during that 2-year period was I was an auditor for the Federal Transportation Authority. We went around the country auditing government contracts that were entered into by the different agencies across the country, making sure they complied with all the federal guidelines for procurement contracts, bidding processes, Buy America initiatives, those kind of things. And then in 2002, I left that to start my own company, which is now based up in Newburyport. It's called TechSource Thermal Solutions. It's an electronics distribution company, mostly business to business. I don't do any retail or online sales. I have a handful of customers that are all in the manufacturing industry themselves. And most of them are in the United States, but I have a couple that are outside of the US, like China and Brazil and Italy, three that come to mind. So 3 questions that I'm assuming you're probably wondering about me is, why did I decide to run? So like I said, it was really a matter of being able to try to push back on the liberal policies and legislation that we've all been, I shouldn't say all, I can't assume we're all conservative Republicans here, but I think most of us probably are, that have been going on for years, and especially the past 5, where it just got to the point where I said, Trish, I got to do this. I have to do something at this point. Another question that I think you're probably wondering is, why am I different from the other 5 candidates in this race? Because as you know, Mr. Speliotis, who holds the seat now, announced his retirement a week and a half after I jumped into the race. And I think my answer to that would be education and experience, ironically. And I say ironically because my 2 liberal opponents in this race have been in government for a very long time, and they say they have the political experience that the state needs to meet the challenges in the state, especially due to this pandemic. But I pushed back on that, and I said that's actually my strength, because I have, like I said, the education and the experience of not only doing the work for the government, the federal government, over 20 years ago, but starting a small business and everything that includes, everything from signing leases and accounting and inventory management and sales and human resources, all those things. So all that together with raising a family in Massachusetts for almost 30 years now, I think I've got the life experience to go up to Beacon Hill and put a fresh set of eyes, okay? A different perspective to look at the problems and the challenges that we have in the state. The third and final question I think are probably on your mind is, why vote for Bob May for state rep? And in a very simple word, I would say change. Okay, from day one, we are going, if I'm fortunate enough to represent, the folks at Danvers, we're going to have a conservative voice on Beacon Hill. We have not had a conservative voice in over 30 years. Over 30 years, and I think it's time. And Mike and I and Matt and our staff have been knocking on doors in the neighborhoods of the 13th district for 5 weeks now, and I can tell you the response has been incredible. We need that voice. We need to get some pushback on some of the outrageous behavior, in my opinion, that's being considered. I mean, the 2 most recent examples, the police reform bill, the transportation climate initiative, I would have voted no on both of those, absolutely, 100%. So know that I am a conservative, and all the positions associated with me are going to be conservative. I support the Second Amendment. I'm pro-life. As I mentioned, I support law enforcement 100%. I'm against tax increases, especially that TCI, which is going to be an automatic gas tax, which, by the way, we voted against 6 years ago, okay? And last but not least, I support President Trump and his First America agenda and everything that means. So in wrapping up, I wanted to actually read or share with you an email that I received. It's a response to a thank you email that my wife sent out after we had our campaign kickoff fundraising event a few weeks ago. She just sent out, everyone, when they checked in, everyone put their email address, and we sent out thank you notes. And I got one in response. We weren't expecting any replies back to a thank you note, but I got one, and I wanted to share it with you because it really resonated with me. Because we go out knocking doors, and I'm not sure if the message is really being heard. I'm not sure if I'm really communicating, why I'm in this, why I'm doing this, and what my hopes are. Because when I was talking about change, in reality, I have to answer that question two ways: short-term and long-term. Short-term, if I'm fortunate enough to represent the folks at Danvers, honestly, not a lot's going to change. We're outnumbered 4-1 on Beacon Hill right now. Okay, it's like 130-something to 20-something. Long-term, my hope is that we'll be able to look back in hopefully a couple of years, maybe 4, and say, you know what? I was at the beginning of a movement that started taking back our state from these far left progressive politicians. That's just my hope. So let me share this email with you. It says, "Hi Tricia, our pleasure. We need to preserve what we, our parents, grandparents, and so on did for us to make us what we are today. By making each generation better, attaining more wealth, working, sacrificing more opportunities, college education, jobs, strong spiritual values, etc. Sacrifice working, saving, and helping our families grow ahead in the greatest place to live in the world. Why do so many people want to live here? The opportunity to be free and to be whatever we can be, to enrich our lives and the lives of others. The other side believes in nothing but having absolute power to control and keep the individual spirit down by taking away more of our freedoms, keeping the individuals down, and bowing down to political correct agendas. We are not Russia yet. We are one nation under God. It starts with people like Bob, a local community voice whom is trying to support the values that many of us believe in: God, family, and friends. We will win. There is no trophy for second place in this race. Best wishes, and great to see Bob and your family." So in conclusion, we're going to be knocking on doors for all the rest of the summer. If I haven't gotten to your individual house, if you don't see one of our door knockers with white scratchings on it that says, "Sorry I missed you," please reach out to us. The website's, it's on the car, it's on the yard sign if you don't see it, but it's may4rep.com, MAY, the number 4, rep.com. There's a link on there that says contact us. You can hit that, or you can just email us at may4rep@gmail.com. Say, "Hey Bob, can you come over? I want to have a coffee hour with some friends," or "I want to have a cigar night with you and some of my buddies." And yeah, there you go, Mark, right? So what I want to leave you with is, one of my concerns as I do a lot of these events is I come across maybe a little bit angry or kind of doom and gloom type. And I hope you don't take that away from my little speech tonight, because I grew up in this state. I love this state. I love the culture. I love the seasons. This is my home. I just want to make it better. I want to make, and I know my friend John Paul is going to talk about this because I've got a couple of events with him. He's going to talk about opportunity, okay? This needs to be a place where you can live your life and be happy, however you define that. However you define that. Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail, and have a great evening.
A lot of work. It's like cleaning a college kid's room that hasn't cleaned his room in 5 years. It's going to be cleaning up. No, a lot in terms of what I would accomplish. I have some really cool ideas I come up with. So, I mean, obviously fixing the economy, bringing back jobs, supporting our police, educational choice. I'll be fighting for that, and there's a bunch of other things. But we haven't had. There's only 11 engineers and scientists in all of the U.S. Congress out of 535 members. So I'll be the 12th. And these people that making these laws about COVID, about genders, child genders, that don't know nothing about science. We need more scientists. So I'm going to bring some common sense science to Congress. I also came up with an idea of I'm going to be supporting the Keep 9 amendment, which is keeping 9. Who wants to keep 9 on the Supreme Court? We need an amendment to make sure that the Democrats don't go and stuff the court. So that's another thing. And I came up with the idea of the Defense of Small Business Council. The Defense of Small Business Council would be in the House of Representatives. I would start it and I'll run it because I'm a small business owner for life, and we are getting. What word do you use when you can't? We're getting it. We're getting a beating. Small businesses, because the big businesses are colluding with government, right? Especially the big tech companies, and they get protected. If you work for government, you're protected. But the 50% of people that work for small businesses and small business owners have gotten it bad through the COVID virus, and they're not getting relief. So I will fight, and putting them all together are 10 times bigger than the biggest corporation. So I'm going to fight and create a massive coalition of small businesses. That's my first thing I'm going to do. And another first thing I'm going to do, in parallel, is I'm going to create the United States Opportunity Corps.
Okay, don't you need Nancy Pelosi's permission to do that?
Nancy, I'll give her a really nice bottle of my very finest Irish whiskey, and she'll just take that and she'll go away somewhere when we're voting, because she'll just go get hammered, because we all know she's a messy drunk. I'll have a drink, but she's a messy drunk.
All right,
Hope
thank you.
Nancy sees that.
A primary?
Yeah, Seth Moulton is.
So he may not even win, can he? Who's he running against, and what's going on there?
So he has two primary components. You guys know about his primary?
Yeah.
So Seth Milton, I just like saying that. I'm just sorry. I'll mispronounce his name at the debate, so I'm sure. But he's got two primary components. Angus McQuack, or McQuaid, or I call him McQuack. What's his real name? McQuillan. I'm sorry.
McMillan, whatever.
I just call him McQuack.
I'm going to have to bleep you.
What is it? What?
McQuillan.
McQuillan. Sorry. So it's not funny, but it is. I call him a quack. But he started Planned Parenthood. He was the president of Planned Parenthood. So you know what he liked doing. Planned Parenthood up to birth. So it's him and then this another Jamie Bellucito, and they're running against him, and they're both to the left of him. If you can believe that there's a place to go to, but you're already on the ledge, and there's a left place of that's interesting. But they're to the left of him. So since there's two of them, I think one of them could have taken him out, but two of them, they're not well funded, and they both are far leftists. So the far left will split the vote between those two. So I don't think he'll be taken out. But there's a chance he would. It'd be fun if he would. But I actually want to go against Moulton, because that would just be more fun, in my opinion. It's going to be more work, but more fun. So there's two that are going against him. So he's getting it. That shows how much the party doesn't like him, because he's got two primary like, who ran for president and has two primary competitors, right? Yeah. He's not popular with the party and not popular with people, so I think he really is weak. And that's what I tell people. I don't know how many people say, oh, you're in a blue state. Oh, it's like a wasted money. You get good luck. I'm like, actually, look at the numbers. We have statistically a D+6 state, and that's considered very competitive. But you take in the fact that he's getting two primary competitors, and he really got Nancy Pelosi and all those guys mad at him, and he's not far enough left for the crazies. He's in a precarious position, so he can be beaten. So that's why I think this is the time to take him out. Quarter century since we had a Republican in Congress.
Sabotage.
I think that might be a. Was that Angus?
That was me.
Quacking? That was to get me out of the stage, right? Get him, yank! Yeah, so he's got two primary competitors, so I don't have a primary, but he does. So.
Out, and did you tell people where your website is?
Did I? Yeah, I did.
Well, okay.
Yep. If you didn't hear before, the website's May4Rep, my name, the number 4, rep.com. I'll share a funny story with you. When I pulled the nomination papers and actually announced my candidacy, after speaking it over with my wife, who wasn't entirely on board, because she started asking me all these questions, and as a first-time guy who ran for anything, I didn't have any answers. She says, well, what does this mean? Like, what does the state rep do? And I was like, I have an idea, hon, but I'm not really sure. I know you go to Beacon Hill, and I just want to represent, conservative voices. Well, how many days a week do you work? Do you have an office? Do you do 9 to 5? You have a job? And I was like, that's a good question too. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. And then she says, well, do you get paid at least? And I was like, I have no idea. I have no idea. I get an excellent question, hon, but I don't know. But I think ultimately, like I said in my little speech, was we just don't have representation. I registered as a Republican at 18. Honestly, when you're 18, you're not really politically minded. You're thinking about other things, like in your life, right? I've never looked back on that decision, ever. Everything, as I got more experienced and more knowledgeable, just in life in general, just confirmed that decision that I had made so long ago. I pulled the nomination papers, announced the candidacy, knowing that Ted Speliotis had been our state rep for, I don't know, 32 years, I think. More than that total, because I guess
Twice.
he was rep and then he lost a race and then came back. So I knew when I pulled the nomination papers that my chances were very slim to none at that point, right? But it was what it was. Like I said, I had to do something. I said I'm going to push back. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, at least I can say I tried. A week and a half goes by. Mr. Speliotis announces his retirement. So for all of a minute, Bob, first-time candidate, is running unopposed. Oh, this is going to be great, right? No, that didn't last long. And it's funny because people had said when he announced his retirement, Bob, you chased him out of the race. Kidding, right? Now, I'm not saying I chased him out of the race, but I'm not saying I didn't either, right? The point is, now with an open seat, we got 5 people in this race, right? It's become something that's a real long shot to, well, you work hard enough and you get your message out, you got a chance.
It's our best shot.
And it's interesting. John Paul mentioned about the engineers and people of science, representing us. I had never thought of that. I don't know how many engineers are up at the State House. I can't imagine there's that many. But it reminds me of something I thought of a few weeks ago. If you remember from high school biology, right? There's this famous experiment called the boiled frog experiment. Does anybody remember that? Yeah. So if you don't, the way it goes is if you took a frog and threw him in a pot of boiling water, he's just going to jump out, right? But if you put that same frog in a pan of lukewarm water and start to turn the heat up, he'll boil alive because slowly by slowly his metabolism won't recognize the temperature difference until it's too late. I feel like, especially us in the 13th District, the North Shore in general, the State Houses treat us like boiled frogs. They pass a little, tax increase one year. It goes up a little bit the next year. They'll pass some crazy social progressive legislation one year, push on it the next year, to the point where you look around and you say, that this is not the state that I grew up in. Like John Paul said, the opportunities that we had when we were younger, they don't exist anymore. I got my undergrad degree, like I said, in mechanical engineering from the University of Lowell. I was a full-time student, and I worked my way the whole time. I commuted from Lowell back and forth, from Malden, believe it or not, working the whole time. It's impossible to do that today. Impossible. So that's why I'm here again. Please, if you like what you heard tonight, and I usually conclude any conversation I have with somebody at a door that gives me 5 minutes of their time. I appreciate your support, I appreciate your vote, but please, if you like the message, reach out to a family member or a neighbor, your husband or wife, whoever it is, because that's the way John Paul and I are going to get this message out. It's organically. It's people saying, hey, I talked to this guy. I really think he's got some good ideas. I like what he wants to do up there. Again, I am going to be a conservative voice. I promise you that. I'm not starting a second career as a politician at 59, which I did a couple of weeks ago. Okay? I've lived in the state my whole life. I've started, grown, and have a successful small business. I've got a great marriage to my life partner and my muse for 30 years. It'll be 30 years in 2021. I got 4 great kids. They're fantastic, love them to death. I have no intention, if I'm honored to represent our district in Beacon Hill, just to change that. Okay, there is nothing up there they have to offer that I don't already have. I just want to be a conservative voice for us. That we don't have one now. We haven't had one since I moved to Peabody in '91. Thank you, Bob.
Bob, who do you think your Democratic opponent will be? Who's the strongest one running right now?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Who do you think out of your opponents on the Democratic side, who's the strongest? Who do you think's going to win?
Well, I only have one Democrat opponent.
Yeah, but they're all Democrats, the 4 of them. Gita's not close.
Well, the other
It's going to
three
be Sally,
independents.
by the way.
Sally. Bates
Sally.
is independent.
Yeah.
and independent.
Yeah.
So the former
Well, you
state
realize all
representative,
five
the most
will be
strongest opponent right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Will be
Sally's the main thing.
I think so, but Mr. Bates was Ted Spiliotis' aide for 10 years, so I think he's got a lot of political connections and probably, resources that he can pull to be competitive also. I don't know.
Bob, look, Bill's not smart enough. I've done it for 25 years, right? Bill's not smart enough to register as a Democrat, to get that sort of money you're talking about. It's going to come from the state party. It's Sally, right? So we counter that because you're preaching to the choir here, right? I want to know, have you reached out? We have to reach out to Mark Mazzina, right? And he did a great job. Grassroots, nothing going on. He did a great job against Teddy, right? Now, Sally's a different animal, right? But we got to find Mark. Anyone know where Mark is?
I have this.
Okay,
I talked. Like, first, let me answer your question. Sorry, I talk to Mark every couple of weeks.
Excellent. Excellent.
Mark was probably 3 or 4 people that I already reached out to, right when I even thought
That's
about
great.
doing this.
That's great to hear.
Mark, unfortunately, moved to Tennessee. I don't know if you
No, I know. But he has all the stuff he did last time, who he talked to, who he got money from, everything else.
Okay, you know who else has that? Bob May has that. He said he did. He shared all his information. God love Mark. He was heaven sent. Shared all his information to the point where I know where all his lawn signs were from 2 years ago.
I'm late to the party. I thought you were Bob May. Sorry. What's your name? You're Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry, you confused me.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Now I get it. I was speaking third person.
Yeah, I don't get that. No, that's great to hear because I honestly God, Bill Bates cracked me up when he been working with Teddy for 15 years, and he's not smart enough to register as a Democrat, but he's an idiot. So I can attest to that.
That goes to my story before. I'm not sure. I'm not confident that Ted really was planning on retiring. I mean, honestly, if I was him and I could just skate in unopposed for another 2 years,
Well, you know what the game is.
there's no heavy lifting. Why not, right?
Write this down. He's going to gig at either Salem State College or North Shore Community.
Oh, absolutely.
He's going to slide into. Don't worry about Teddy, right? The battle is Sally, right? She's an animal.
Yeah. Well,
Right, her husband's an animal, and they're Democrats. So they're going to get Democrat money. So it's you got to show fundraising to get money out of the Republican Party in the state, and that's what Mark knew how to do.
Right. And to your point, it's interesting because I came home, I think it was Tuesday, and I had a little mailer from Sally about the early registration.
Yep.
I came home tonight, there was another 8x10 mailer.
Yep.
And believe me, Mike and I were just, before we had this event, we were talking about the mailings that we got to do and how much they cost.
Yeah.
So we're hopefully going to get out 5. 2 in 1 week, so yeah, there's money coming in.
And Karen's is the opponent, right? So Mark, if you can do a show and get the 2 of them side by side, that's the battle. No, that's the battle. The other 3, I don't. Billy is just come on, he's a clown, right? And I don't know the other guys, but Sally is the opponent. I can tell you that right now. Knowing her husband, knowing her, she's the battle, and she's going to have a lot of money flowing in from the state party and from out of state, right? Her husband, you know her husband? People here that I've seen at indoor meetings for years.
I know, you're right.
You did a great job, Jim.
Yeah. So again, we got to support our candidates. There's going to be debates coming up. There's going to be a lot of things happening, and we're going to have to just break this stupidity of this, Governor Baker shutting down, businesses and all this stuff. I mean, if you look at some of the real, we won't even get into it, like you said. We need more, engineers, medical people, because these guys.
We're engineers.
Within, what do you call it? Beacon Hill, Washington, D.C., in the swamp, they create legislation that has so much unintended consequences, it's literally pathetic. They pass a law, they create 6 more problems, and they pass another law to fix one of them.
This is kind of fun. Now, nobody here, I don't think anybody here is in the American closet. Does anybody know what the American closet is?
No.
Anybody guess what the American closet is? All right, so the American closet is this. I lived in something called a gay closet for 20 years. I was an athlete and I had a surfing company, an engineer. You're not allowed to be gay in those situations. You just can't. And at least back years ago, right? So I came out of that closet, and I'm like, it was a big, scary thing. My family's Irish Catholic. By the way, I have a really big Irish Catholic family, and they're all Republicans. Every one of them, like 75 of them. All of them. They're not allowed to be in my family and be elected. Not allowed. So it was really scary, and everybody accepted me. It was awesome. I had a few, just a handful of bigots that didn't, but mostly everybody, 95%. It was much better than I thought. Well, then a few years later, guess what? I had another closet I had to leave. The closet, what that was? The conservative closet. Because I would tell my friends that I'm like actually pro-conservative, and I just came out and I was like being very open about it. And man, I got like screaming and yelling, and half my friends, at least half my gay friends left instantly. People I knew for years. They tolerant gays, right? Very tolerant. And then I got even death threats. I got a guy that wanted to kill me. I got people threatening me because I'm not allowed to be gay and conservative, and especially for Trump. So that happened. Well, then I had to get out of it, and I'm like, you know what? It was the best thing I ever did. I don't care about all these fake friends I lost because all my good friends stay with me.
That's right.
And years of all these memories I had, I'm like, you know what? I don't miss you because if you're not with me, then you're against me. That's fine. Met a lot of good people like you guys. It was worth it.
Yeah.
Now I see that the American closet is everybody that's being beaten down by the left. That you're not allowed to say you're for Trump. You're not allowed to criticize Black Lives Matter. Of course, the sentiment, obviously we care about Black lives, but the organization is a Marxist, evil, homophobic group, right?
Yeah.
So we got to stand, but they've got us so scared. I'm like, I can sense that. I can smell that. I've been there before. And so most of America is in the American closet because you're not allowed to be openly American now, right? That's why I got that truck. I'm not being put in no damn closet again. Right? So I tell people, the gays had, be out and loud and proud. I'm like, how about we be out loud and proud Americans?
Right.
Right? I mean, if the gays can do it, we can do it better. So that's my attitude. So when I see people, I'm conservative, but I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to, I got to keep it down. I'm like, you're the reason why we're going to lose. Because if you're not out there fighting, then you can't press the message along. So I tell everybody, get out of the American closet, say you're voting for Trump, say you're voting for me, say you stand for America, say you stand for conservative principles, and if we all did that together, the left would have no chance.